Well, street epistemology is essentially a communication technique that seems to be really effective in helping people take a look at their views in a way that they don't normally take a look at their views. We don't often reflect on how we form the view and what it would take to change our mind. And that's what street epistemology is. It's largely asking questions, trying to take yourself out of it as much as possible and make the focus about them and their belief formation process. Mm-hmm. As far as my motivations, I want to live in a world where people believe as many true things as possible, or they at least strive to, because we can see the effect of walking around with beliefs that are probably not true. We're encountering that on almost a daily basis. And I think that this is probably one way to not only improve the interactions that we're having with people that we fundamentally disagree with, but to try to make the world a little bit of a better place.
Sure. So epistemology, I'm a philosophy major. That's something that I encountered at undergrad, but it's not a word that most people are familiar with. So how did you even get into, most people don't ask, why do I believe the things that I believe? And how did you even come across epistemology? Why is it of interest? I know why it's of interest to you, but why was it initially of interest to you?
Well, it was initially interesting, and it wasn't because of the word. And I just the word street, and you throw epistemology onto it, it loads a lot of misconceptions, I think, as far as what we're doing. Right. Street epistemology is the study of knowledge. I don't think I even was really that aware of that term until I discovered a book called A Manual for Creating Atheists. And then there's been a subsequent book called How to Have Impossible Conversations, which purports to having like techniques for having better conversations with people that we disagree with. And so I was skeptical when I read the book, and I, in a way, kind of set out to show that it either worked or didn't. So I went out with my camera and started having conversations to see, can I ask questions about people's deeply held beliefs and see if they'll reflect on them, maybe show a degree of shift in confidence that it's really true. And what I didn't really expect is that it changed me actually now. I think I've become a little bit more humble about what I can say that I know. And that's been sort of a liberating thing too, to be comfortable with uncertainty. I think I've become a lot more comfortable with uncertainty over the years by having done this approach.
Yeah. What's a belief that you had when you started and that talking to other people has helped to soften or change? Because I know a lot of times they'll come in and have a belief in God or whatever it might be, and then you are softening their belief. But has it ever happened in reverse where someone actually had points that made you change your mind?
There have been a few times where I've had conversations, sometimes with people on the street, other times over Facebook Messenger or something like that, where I've surfaced a claim. In fact, I tend to be a little bit more careful about the claims that I make now because I'm surrounded by a lot of people who use this approach. But to
well,
answer
you do
your question,
open yourself up for challenge when you're the challenge guy.
Exactly. But let's see. I think I've softened on gun control. I used to be really vehemently against walking around like open carry, showing a weapon, bringing them into buildings, campuses, churches, schools. I don't go to a lot of churches, but I ended up speaking with a lot of people who ended up giving really good reasons and verifiable methods for why that position is actually pretty good. So that's been an eye-opening thing. Other things too, like the idea of downloading music for free and not paying the artist. I was really against that idea.
Oh, interesting.
But after having a few conversations with people, it ended up putting a pebble into my shoe, and it caused me to think about it. And once you realize that you really can't justify some of these views, it tends to back you off on your confidence that it's really true.
What's the counter? Because I actually understand. I'm similar with gun control, where when I grew up in my super safe suburban East Coast North area that all hated guns, I was like, yeah, guns are obviously bad. And then as I've just lived life and experienced other things, that changed my mind. But what is the music argument for why it's okay to take music without compensating the musicians?
Right.
Because I'm surprised by that.
Right. And to be clear, I try to view my beliefs, the truth of my beliefs in terms of a confidence scale, like from 0 to 100 or something. So I'm not hard and fast on that. And in fact, I'm willing to shift. I think the argument that I heard that was pretty convincing is that an artist who makes their material available to the public casts a wider net, so to speak, and could actually end up bringing in more income as a result of giving away some things for free, or not even giving them away, but having them shared publicly like that.
Got it. Well, that's a big difference, right? I think if an artist wanted to give something away for free, by their volition in order to get famous, then I would support that. But it's, I think for the consumer to
make that decision on their behalf
for them seems a bit self-serving, a little bit of self-sabotage. Oh, I'm doing this because it's good for them.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're justifying stealing, but
well, if I had to come up with this, with a supporting argument for it, it would be that intellectual property rights are, as are all laws, very arbitrary, right? I think one of the things that you see as you dive into, like, why do we have the laws that we have and the rights that we have, is that not all of them have axioms that you would necessarily agree with. Like the idea that something that comes out of your brain is yours in perpetuity, despite the fact that you could hum a tune and somebody else can immediately capture it and hum it back. It's not obvious that that belongs to someone. So if I had to make the argument as to why that ought to be allowed, it would come from the arbitrary nature of our intellectual property laws, which seem to be set entirely by Disney Corporation these days. Just extending.
Indeed.
So you mentioned a couple of things that I thought were interesting. One, that you immediately went out to test this method, which is like so meta with what you're doing, because the whole sequence of questions that I often hear you ask is, can you test that? Is this provable? What kind of test would one want to run? So it sounds like you already kind of had a germ of like healthy skepticism inside of you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I was skeptical that this approach could do the things that the author was purporting that it could do, that you can go out, surface a claim, or even wait till somebody makes a claim. Ideally, these conversations can organically start. So I was going out and initiating talks and bringing my camera so that I could record myself doing this. But yeah, I wanted to see if it worked, if it was resulting in people thinking about their views, maybe lowering their confidence in their claim, and then what did they think about the conversation afterwards? Were they interested in talking with me again? Were they willing to send other people up to me to talk to me? The great thing is people were enjoying the talks. They were thinking about their views. They were shifting in terms of their confidence. And even bringing other people up to talk about a variety of different topics. So that was encouraging. However, a lot of this is just anecdotal. This is probably a few thousand people now. I'd say we're probably at 10,000, maybe 50,000 people who are aware of this approach, and they're having conversations where they use this, and they are self-reporting those types of things. But we really need to get this into the lab. We need to scientifically test this and see, is it a more productive form of engagement on difficult topics? My sense is that it is. However, being a skeptic myself, we want to test this. I would love to put people into MRI machines or something and monitor their brain waves. I don't exactly know how we do it, but I would love to get to the point where we can actually do so.
Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.